Good morning, guys. Watch for this error. It is on yellow light error. Let's see how can we fix it. All the screws from this metal plate, specifically from this metal plate, has been removed, and the antenna from this jack is unplugged, and now we can take the motherboard out. After removing this metal plate, you have to remove the fan jack from this board, and now I will pull it up. Yes, and here it is. It is untouched and never been repaired before. Now I will test for these DC to DC converter chips, these two chips, and here are some feedback resistances and the biasing resistances. Just like this is the feedback resistor of 55 ohm. Yes, it is, and should be 1.8 kilo ohm or 2 kilo ohm, and this also should be 1.8 kilo ohm, and this should be at 90 ohm. It is a feedback resistance also, but it is also at the value of 55 ohm. It's fine, and it is 1.7 kilo ohm, and it should also be at 1.7 kilo ohm. And here is another DC to DC converter chip. We must check the feedback and biasing resistances. It should be 2.2, and it should also be 2.2, and that should be at 90 ohm. Yes, it is. And on the other side of the biasing are at the back side of this motherboard. These three resistors, we must check them. 2.3, 2.3, and 90 ohm, 89, 90 ohm. Fine. So now I must check it with my oscilloscope after connecting the power supply with this motherboard. So here is the power supply. I hope it would be fine. And here I need this on-off switch. And I will turn it on, and here is a red standby light. I need to connect a ground with this motherboard. And after I will check for the remaining power supplies, just like these power supplies, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and 7, and 8. So let's start. I must check first from here. This should be, it is on off, on off, on off. So let's start. It has oscillation, and here at this point it has 2, and this is 12. And now come to the CPU power supply. This is the input of this inductor. There should be a clock. No, there is no clock. Now, and same here must not be any kind of clock. This input clock is not in order. Now next we must check for the GPU power supply for this. And these two inductors are for the GPU power supply, and I will check for the input. Yes, it is. And here, yes. And finally, this inductor, this is the input, and it contains clock, and this is the another inductor. So we reach to the conclusion that this power supply is not working. So for this we must check for the gates of this these FETs. These are the FETs, main FETs. We can call them the power FETs, that are driven by the PWM chip at the back side of this motherboard. So the PWM side looks fine, but I have observed that this supply, this CPU supply, that is filtered by these NEC token capacitors, was not available. So no, now it is available. The pulse reached to 1 volt here, and so it's fine. Yes, this is not the error. And now that you can see that this light is keeping itself on. Sometimes the green light keeps on. You can see that now it is on, but no heat from any of these two processors. So we have to diagnose this fault with the keen observation. So fine, this is okay. Now most probably it is fault like YLOD is caused by the GPU side. So we must check for this GPU voltage, and I have just observed that the GPU power supply, when this line goes to 1 volt, it has some sort of distortion. It means that this line is not as neat as it should be. Watch it again. Yes, but this line power supply, the power supply of the CPU 1 volt, is more neat as compared to the GPU power supply. Let's see it again. Yeah, the 1 volt, and now it is on, keeping itself on, but no power is available. So I will show you most closely about this error, because most of my followers keep asking me about this trick. Believe me that there is no trick at all. Just observe keenly that what the trace line said. So let's start again. Now I am first of all I will show you the power supply of GPU. Just observe this again. You can observe that this line, when reached at this 1 volt, it is somehow distorted or not a neat line. And on the other hand, now I am going to show you the power supply of CPU. For a short instant you can observe that it is quite neat. Yeah. Afterward in the video I will show you in a slow motion mode. Now let's test again for the GPU. It is not as neat as it should be. It is again on green light. Yeah. So finally I have reached to this conclusion that the token capacitors of GPU sides are not filtering the power as good as they should be. So to fulfill the requirement to filter this power supply for the CPU, for the GPU, we must add some capacitors here to reach the maximum capacitance to filter these volts. So let's try it, and I will try one capacitor to add here. This is the positive point and this is the ground. So I will add a capacitor here. Just peel off a short piece of paint from here and here. And here I will apply some flux to solder it. Yes, oh, it is on. I have to turn it off, and just need to solder this point so that we can install the both ends of the capacitors. The capacitors that I am going to use are small capacitors of 470 microfarad and 2.2 volts. Here is one capacitor. I will install it, and its positive sign is this color, the white or gray color here, and this is the positive point and this is the ground of this motherboard. We must put this capacitor in this direction, and now I need to solder it. My iron is not getting as sufficient heat to solder these capacitors, so I need additional heat with the help of my heat gun. So I just use a heat gun, it is sufficient. First I will solder the positive point of this capacitor. The body of this NEC token capacitor will melt or D-shaped, but it is no problem. It is just the case of this capacitor. The main capacitor elements are inside of this cap. this cap. If this cap melts out, no problem, just try to add this capacitor so that we can get a neat trace line of 1 volt out of these capacitors. Oh my god. Yeah. Now try to solve from the negative point. Yes, it is done. Maybe this capacitor works for us, but I must add one more capacitor at the front side of this motherboard. So for this and so let's verify it, and you will watch the trace line much cleaner than before. If I could focus it here. So I am going to turn it on, and this power supply, yeah, it is much cleaner than before, and now it is on. Yeah, you can see that it has turned on and keeping itself on, and due to the overheat of these two processors, it will shut off with 3 beeps. Yes. So I must add one more capacitor at the back side, on the front side of this motherboard. Then I will let you check the display of this motherboard. This capacitor has D-shaped due to the overheat, but no problem. So now I will install the HDD on this board and the HDMI cable. Here is the HDD. And now I must put the heat sinks on these processors. And next I need the HDMI cable. Here I will put the HDMI cable as well. And now I am going to turn it on. Here it is, the button on, and the on off standby button is here. Yeah, and now we must go to the display. Yes, it is on, and due to the strip of my controller I have not attached with it, I cannot use the controller. So this was the story about this console. Most probably you have understand the YLOD error cause, and I think it will be helpful for you, for most of my followers. So thank you very much, and goodbye.